Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I am pleased to be joined by two gentlemen from Jumpmaster Press. I have Kyle Hanna and Gene Rowley. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, so the first question I have is how did the idea for this publishing house, Jumpmaster Press, start?
Go ahead,
Yeah, I'll
Gene.
go ahead and take this. I'll go ahead and take this one because it's kind of his Kyle's backstory. So Kyle had written several books. He's a fantastic sci-fi author, and I was working on my first book, and I was not a fantastic sci-fi author. He had been with a couple other publishers, but what I was the kid with the paper route and the lemonade stand. So I was always an entrepreneur, and we served together in the military. We were good friends. He kept encouraging me to write my book, and when I was ready to publish it, I asked the normal questions most people do. Do I self-publish it? Do I try to find an agent? And I talked to him about it, and he said, "I hate my publishers. They're doing this and they're doing that, and I'm not getting royalties, and I they overcharge me for my books." And I said, "Well, why don't you make a list of all the things that your previous publishers did wrong, and we'll start our own company and not do that." And that's exactly what we've done with Jumpmaster Press. Kyle, anything to add?
No, that's really it. Three previous publishers, two of which are now out of business, so they were not doing the right thing.
Hmm.
And you know, Gene said, "Hey, we could do it better ourselves," and I agreed. And
Yep.
5.5, 6 years later, we're here.
And the name comes from the fact that we were both in the Army and we were both paratroopers and jump masters. So that's a part of our history, and we wanted to call it something unique. So Jumpmaster Press was a natural choice.
Well, it's easy to find y'all. When I did Google searches about it, it was very easy to find all the information.
Thank
The
you.
the next question I have is, so most publishers typically try to focus on certain genres, and then there are some that do very broad or they have different imprints and stuff. What would you say are the primary genres that Jumpmaster Press tries to focus on?
Sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. However, we are not a typical publisher. We branch out into multiple genres. We have um, thrillers, we have murder mysteries, we have historical fiction, um, young adult. When we go to a convention and set up, we want the readers to have a full-fledged bookstore experience. So they come in, we ask them what they like to read, and we take them right to that section. They get the joy of being in a bookstore without being in a bookstore and seeing all of our new and wonderful authors.
Right now in our catalog, we've got about 175 active titles, and they
Woo!
span almost every genre. The only thing you won't find at Jumpmaster Press is poetry. It's a niche market, and you
Hmm.
won't find any erotica or sexual-based content. But other than that, we're open to anything that's well written and an engaging story.
So you said you had about 175 titles. If you don't mind me asking, what year did y'all start shipping out your first books?
2018.
18,
Now,
okay.
now that 175 titles includes about 100 of the classics. We have more than
Yeah,
30 unique authors and
yep,
nearly 100 unique titles to us.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yep.
So when you are focused on publishing books per year, do you try to keep it fairly like steady, or are you trying to increase per year, or how does that work from the publishing sense? Because I know some publishers are just like just do as many titles and hope it sticks to the wall, and then some publishers are only do a few and really focus on, getting the right ones for those few. How does that work for y'all?
I would say that we're kind of a hybrid. We don't make the choice of what we publish. The author's writing actually makes the choice. I go back to what Kyle said earlier. We're kind of a different publishing company. We've taken all of the great nuanced things from successful publishing companies and rolled them into one and left, we kind of trimmed the fat. The fact of the matter is we don't want to outpace our ability to grow. We don't want to grow too fast. We don't want to grow too slowly. So we're slowly adding and innovating products and looking for those authors that come to us that are really the diamonds in the rough. It really comes down to the writing. Typically, we do about 15 titles a year, maybe 12 to 15, I think, something like that. And they go through a pretty rigorous process with us. Our submission process is some say daunting, but the final product is really what we're trying to get because I've said it many times to every single author that's come to me. Our job is to put out a product that we're proud to hand to the author, so the author is proud to hand it to the reader. And if the reader comes back and says, "Well, this product is garbage," that's not the author. That comes back to us. So our reputation in the marketplace and our ability to put out quality product, well-written stories, engage the reader and keep them coming back. So we are growing. We just don't do it this way. We do it this way.
So you talked about having a very rigorous process for how you find your authors and finding the right authors and the right works. For anyone who's interested, do you guys use agents like traditional publishing? Do you have open call? I know some publishers have like seasons where they'll say, okay, from this time to this time you can submit, but from this time to this time you can't. How does that process work for you guys?
We actually have both. We will take agented submissions. We have a few agents that we do work with. Primarily, we open for unsolicited submissions the month of August. So about a month from now, we'll open it up and our inbox will flood with submissions in all genres. The process, what makes it so daunting, as we've been told, is the slush pile. There's not a gatekeeper. There's not a gatekeeper. There are 5 gatekeepers.
Mhm.
Every submission gets sent to a committee and they grade it individually. And generally they fall into one of 2 categories. Either, hey, this is pretty good. It might need a little bit of work, but let's go with it. Or it needs more than a little bit of work and let's do a revision letter. Now, everybody that submits gets feedback. That's something not too many people get from publishers. So if you get a revision letter from us, you're also going to get a 1 or 2 page quick edit, which shows the author what we're looking for. And it's usually the typical stuff. It's show, don't tell. It's passive voice. It's, here's a little hint to help you with your writing. And then they have 6 months before they can resubmit. So this past February, I got a handful of resubmissions and, the writers have improved greatly. And the reason we do that is to help writers hone their skills. It's not your generic, too bad, so sad, try again with something else. We want to help people become better at this craft.
Yeah.
Now, the people that do get a contract, another daunting aspect is it goes through not 1, but 2 rounds of edits with 2 different people. And then it goes to beta readers after the author, makes their corrections or adjustments. So by the time Gene gets to publish it, or when it's ready for publication, at least 5 different people have looked through this book. It's not perfect, but it's as close as we can make it. And this whole process takes 12 to 24 months. And, all of those things add up to what Gene said. It's a daunting process, but it works because, as he said, when you, the author, hand your book to a reader, it's as good as we can make it.
Yep.
So actually, you so far you guys have literally led into each of my questions. So that's really great. My next one had to do with edits. So when you guys are doing the edits with authors, do you find that most authors are really close, or do you find that the majority of authors require that more heaviness of edits, or do you have a really wide range when it comes to it? Because I know I won't say names, but I do know a few publishers that like, they will barely touch most of their authors because they've kind of honed in and their authors know it, and then
Yeah.
some that will do a heavy edits. So what's
Yeah.
the normal process?
let me just say this before Kyle answers. He's the editor in chief. This is his wheelhouse to talk about.
Hmm.
My books go through the same process. His
My
books go
books.
through the same
Mhm.
process. So my books take a year to go through the process, to 18
Hmm.
months.
Yeah.
The better the writing, the faster we can get it out. But then it has to go to typesetting, which is something we still do. Has to go to the art department to get a cover art. It has to be proof. We actually physically print a proof copy of every book. We have an inventory room. We have a
Hmm.
warehouse full of all the books. Most of your publishers today are ebook only, and they only buy enough to go to a con. We have bookstores. We have a director of national sales trying to push our books to all the independent bookstores. So that's why the process is so important, because our distribution is going to be much different from every other publisher. So we take the time to make sure the manuscript goes through the process. So at the very end, we have that quality product. And I want to say one more thing to what Kyle said previously. Every single, unless you completely blow our submission guidelines, we don't send out rejection letters. We've sent very few.
Mhm.
What you're going to get is a letter that says, "Hey, let's work together to revise this," because our philosophy is completely different. We're all about the author. We want to bring them up. And the reason we do that is because they took the time to send us their submission. They've worked on it for maybe years and they sent it to us. The least we can do is take a little bit of our time and energy and give them feedback to make them potentially a better author for the next time they submit. It might not be for us, it might be for another publisher, but the next time they submit that manuscript, it's going to be better because they submitted it to us.
And going back to your editing question, if it is a new author to us, the only time we will adjust that is if they are a veteran author, and then
Hmm.
they only get one round of edits.
Okay.
If it's a new writer, if it's someone we haven't dealt with before, they get two rounds. I will usually do it first, send it back to them for corrections, and then it goes to someone else. Brand new, fresh eyes. If they are a veteran author, they'll either come to me or go to one of the other editors, and they get the one round. But then the beta readers, we have a team that reads every book before it's put out, and they'll catch all the missed periods and all the little misspellings and stuff like that. So we do all of this for a reason. Yes, it is time. It does take time,
Hmm.
but it's worth it.
Yep. I mean, if Andy Weir or Dean Kuhn submit to us, it's going to go through the same process.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And I appreciate that you guys have that view of, even if the person doesn't end up publishing with you guys, you want to give enough feedback that it might help them get with their next venture.
we,
I think
we
that's
have
really
several
nice.
other publishers that we're friends with,
Hmm.
and something may not be right for us, but may be right for them. We publish stuff different from some of these other guys and gals, so why not give them the opportunity to look at it? Uh,
Right.
we had one submission this week from somebody else, not in their wheelhouse, so they sent it to us, and we're going to take a look at it.
Nice. Now you guys talked about how in part of that process is the choosing the art. And that is something that is, very varied now in publishing, where some publishers have mostly given up on doing full artwork on their books. And then some publishers do still do the full artwork, and then some do the kind of hybrid of they do a little bit of artwork in some books and a little bit not. What is it that when you guys think about how your process is for doing art, how much time do you spend with an artist, and how many of your books tend to have that full artwork versus not necessarily?
Every single one of our book gets full wraparound artwork, unless the author has already come to us with full wraparound artwork, and that's part of our negotiation. Nine times out of 10, once the book comes out of beta read, it comes to the art department, and we will spend hours and hours and hours. We'll do what, two, three proofs,
Mhm.
First process, it's actually funny. It happens every time. We'll sit down with the author and say, "Tell me exactly what you have in your mind," and we'll do literally exactly what they say. And then we send it back to them, and they go, "Yeah, that didn't really what this isn't what I want." Yeah, but that's exactly what you said. Would you like to see what we came up with? Because we're the artists, and they're like, "Oh wow, the color and this and that."
Hmm.
We have several artists that we commission to do art.
Mhm.
Um, and every single book it's the same treatment, and the author has the final say of what that art looks like. We do many different layouts. We use every single font you could possibly think of. There are some similarities. Our logo goes in the same spot, the
Hmm.
ISBN goes in the same spot,
Yep.
but 9 times out of 10 the author is at the very last step. And by the way, the author is in this process. They're working
All
with the
through
editors all along the way. It's not like they
it.
hand us a book and 18 months later we go, "Here you go, you're welcome." They're in the process with us. Our philosophy is that we are the author's team. And even though it's wow, thanks, Kyle. So I don't know why I'm getting that behind me, but
Wow,
okay.
what happened?
I don't know what just happened.
I
Uh,
don't know either.
Let's see if
the
I can do
AI
that
decided to
again.
do a thing. No hands. Um, but the author's in the process with us, right? We're a team. It's interactive. We're sending them stuff. They don't like the position of their scene breaks. We'll work with them line by line to move stuff. And then when it comes to the artwork, they are there with us. And at the end of the day, again, the goal is to hand them a book we're proud of so that they can hand their reader a book they're proud of. And from the publishing side from the business side of it, if we didn't do that, the book wouldn't sell as well as we expect it to because it's our investment in it. So we want the author to be part of that process.
Mhm.
So every book gets a custom cover, wrap around, and we think they look fantastic.
So I have a few questions that go into some of the specifics of your books, talking about some of your different series that you have. And I want to give you an opportunity because I'm assuming that a lot of my audience might not have heard of these books. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of pitch them or tell people what they're about and
Sure.
stuff. So one of the series I wanted you guys to be able to talk about is your Age of Sail series. And it had one of the books in the series, I think it's the second one, Clipper Wars, just came out
Mhm.
this February. So can you give us a little bit of a pitch about that?
Absolutely. I'd love to talk about this one because it's a historical fiction. It's written by Steve Dayhill, and he is a sailor. He's a maritime historian. He runs in those circles. He's been in magazines. He's well known in the Northeast, and he's just an all-around great guy. And he wrote some amazing historical fictions. The first book in the Age of Sail trilogy is called Secrets of Mary Celeste. Now, if you haven't heard of the ghost ship, the Mary Celeste, go into just Google it right now, and you'll see all kinds of articles on the ship, the Mary Celeste. But what
Mhm.
Steve did was really interesting with that first book. He wrote it about the woman herself, the family, and the intrigue behind the money behind that, and what happened with the family, and then the ghost ship. In the second book, which, by the way, these are not one, two, and you can pick up book two and read it. It's a standalone story. They just all happen because they're maritime historical fiction, a genre that I didn't know of until we met Steve
Hmm.
and started reading his books. Clipper Wars is his most recent one, and that actually is about a race that happened between New York and San Francisco. Most people don't know this, but there were several companies that would sail all the way around the tip of South America to San Francisco. They would take with them commodities and all kinds of things, and they would exchange it for gold. And then they would sail them back. It was the strangest thing. There were sometimes the ships would go off in the middle of the Atlantic because the captain thought they were in a different part of the ocean. They would sink some of them, and it got pretty crazy. But it was a race. It was one of the most popular maritime races that most people didn't even know about.
Mhm.
So he follows several different ships and ship captains and the intrigue that happened in some of those races around the tip of South America. And coming out later this year, hopefully, Kyle's nodding, so I'm right. Later this year, editor in chief, I do what he says, is the third book called Privateer. And if you don't know what privateers are, just go ahead and just think pirates. It's going to be a really, really great book. It's going through the process right now. and we can't wait to get it out and create a custom box set, a collectible box set for the Age of Sail trilogy. Thank you for asking about Clipper Wars. The whole series is going to be amazing, and I want everybody to read it.
Well, that's really interesting that it has both the kind of, it seems very adventure-like while also having the historical aspects.
Exactly. And it's
And
true.
yeah.
It's true history, and it's an adventure story. And you're gonna each book is a crazy fun adventure story and maritime history. If you're a sailor, or you know a sailor, or
You got to
you like
read it.
if you like boats, you
Mhm.
got to read this. Yeah.
Great. The next book I wanted to talk about is in a very different genre. This one is titled, and I believe this is a standalone. This is Merlin's Millennium,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing based off the title that it's a fantasy book of some sort.
It,
So,
it's a cross between true life and fantasy, written by Joe Gribble out of Ohio. Um, he took the Arthurian legend and brought it to present day. Uh, the fight between Merlin and Morgana
mhm.
is raging, and Morgana casts a spell and brings them actually to modern day England, right as they're on the cusp of a war at the new millennium. So, chaos and mayhem ensue. You get the magic, you get the military aspect, you get the adventure. And my wife just finished reading it and she goes, "You didn't tell me it ended on a cliffhanger." So obviously there's going to be a second book, but she thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Uh, you, the reader, will enjoy it. So check it out.
Okay, yeah, bringing that to modern day.
Mhm.
I've seen some, I'll say, attempts at that in some franchises and in some properties that have not worked. So I'm interested in reading that to see how well that can be pulled off. The next book I wanted to ask you about is your Lauren K. Mysteries series,
Mhm.
The Resort to Murder. That I'm assuming is a murder mystery series. Can you guys give a little pitch about that?
It is a murder mystery series set in the early 1950s with a female lead. She is a reporter and she keeps bumbling into murders. So she works with some friends and the local police to solve the mysteries. It's the series is written by Dale Kesterson, and she is a fantastic author. Every time I turn around, she's like, "Hey, my next book is almost ready." I mean, she is prolific, and the writing is outstanding. The whodunits, you don't know till the end, so they're very well done. Set in the 1950s, so there's no phones or no cell phones, no internet, so everything is done the old-fashioned way, and Dale pulls it off. It's a really good series.
And then I wanted to ask if you guys have any upcoming releases in the next couple of months that you
Oh
wanted
boy.
to plug. If there's stuff you can't talk about, obviously that's fine. But if you have any
Oh,
new
oh,
releases that you're
No,
free to talk about.
we
we'll
have a
talk
lot.
about all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We pull up my books and development spreadsheet. Yes, we
I
track
was
it
going to
like
say
this.
there's so many pending.
Yeah. Here's all right. Here's what we have.
Pick one of them. We'll talk about it.
All right. We've got okay. Let's talk about you talk about Rise of Midnight.
Okay. Rise of Midnight. This was one of them that was submitted last August, unsolicited, and it was one of only a handful that went straight to the top of the pile. I handed it off to one of my other editors. She fell in love with it. I mean, it was just wonderful. We sent the edits back to the author. She gushed over it. You know, and her and the editor are now, great friends, and they are continuously looking at how to improve, taking out the passive voice and just little tweaks. And it is a vampire fantasy. And it was previously published, self-published, and it already had, a couple of dozen five-star reviews. And now Sarah, the author, she's just, she's chomping at the bit to get this book out. The first book was so long, we actually split it into two as her second book. So we're taking a trilogy and actually making it five books. And she couldn't be happier. The editors are happy. We just cannot wait to get this, get it on our shelves. We know it's going to sell.
I'm going to talk about High Moon from Will Neely. Will is an amazing guy, and he does so many different things. And I didn't know he was a writer. He submitted to us, and we were like, "What? What is this?" And it is a Western. His first book is called
The Quick and the
what,
Undead.
Quick and the Undead. Quick and the Undead, and it's a Western fantasy.
Okay.
So
Supernatural.
supernatural. So you get all of these things mixed together, and it everybody who reads it just raves about it. Well, book two is coming out. It's called High Moon. It will be out in a couple of months. It'll be out long before the end of the year. It's probably number three on our books in development. So I'm looking at early August probably. And in fact, it should go to proofing Monday. Let's put it, that's how close we are to publishing it. And I'm expecting him to just continue his amazing writing and the fun of a classic Western with a supernatural element. You get a little bit of magic, you get a little bit of monsters, you get the Westerns, and it's just such a weird, fun, well written book. I highly anticipate this one coming out. I think everybody's going to love it. Check out Quick and the Undead. You're going to want to get High Moon after you read it.
Fantasy
Um,
westerns and space westerns, I've noticed, is a very much a growing subgenre. Like it's been around for a while. There have been people who have written that stuff, but in the last few years, boy, have I seen a lot of fantasy westerns and space westerns.
we have several more coming out, but I'm gonna be a little self-serving here, and I'm gonna ask Kyle to talk about his newest release, which should be coming out by the end of the year.
Uh,
Aaron Coalition book.
Terran Coalition. Speaking of space westerns, it does have a few elements of space western in it. Uh, it's a sci-fi saga. It's going to be 2 books, and Earth discovered that aliens have been here for a couple of 100 years watching us. And when we find them on Earth, we do our typical, well, let's dissect them and see what makes them tick and steal all their technology. What that results in is the technology wars, which you get a hint of, but the book actually takes place 10 years after that, where we are now a spacefaring race thanks to the stolen technology spreading out into the universe. And the first book is all about the fight between the people who want to be an isolationist and stay here in our solar system and the expansionists that want to go out and explore the universe. And there's, like I said, there's a hint of space western because you get to meet Deputy Marshal Quinn Busby, who is out on the rim of human space as an old frontier deputy marshal. And then book 2 is the aliens get involved and pose a threat to Earth. So you get a little bit of everything. The dichotomy of human, do we stay, do we go? You get the frontiers, you get the aliens. It's the beta readers loved it. So I'm sure that the readers will as well.
And to keep the self-serving vein going, I'm going to talk about my new release coming out by the end of the year. It's the second book in my Brotherhood of Talents series, which is a small novella series. My first book is called The Rise of Zhang Yi, and it came out last year. And I'm going to talk about the book coming out this year. It is a hero origin story. It is a Asian Chinese dragon hero origin story. So think dragon fantasy, but you're watching a hero go from the little boy in the village to, the hero. And there's a lot of twists in it. There's some payback, accused of a crime you didn't commit kind of story. And in book 2, the dragon in book 1 is called Home to the Dragon Realm. Well, he takes this human with him. And there's the adventure of why he was called home. It's called The Exiled Prince, and the human and the dragon have to go back to the dragon realm. You learn a lot about Asian dragons, and the adventure of this hero, this human hero, what they do in the dragon realm, which is going to lead into book 3, which is called The Hero's Heart and should be coming out next year. So we have those. We talked about Age of Sail, Privateer. We have several other books that we're looking to get out by the end of the year. Eagle Unbound is the third book in another series. It's a sci-fi series from the Aztec Eagle. And then we just released Crystal Desert, book 2 in that series. Red Moscow is by a brand new author to Jumpmaster Press. I'm gonna let Kyle talk a little bit about Red Moscow.
I don't know much about it yet, other than it's a Cold War thriller. I'm starting the edits. I just started them this week, as a matter of fact. So I've read the first few pages. I like what I've seen so far. So looking forward to really getting into that, over the next few weeks and get that back to RC Reed. But if you like thrillers and Cold War espionage, this is right up your alley.
Nice.
And speaking of thrillers, the last thing we'll talk about is the second book. It's called Eyes of Fire. It's the follow-on to I See You by Tish Oliver. And the first book follows the adventure of a young girl who's a shapeshifter who, in kind of a dark format, hunts down pedophiles. So just kind of giving you a little bit of the bookends of what genres we will cover. Dark fantasy is one of those. And I know Eyes of Fire kind of follows along that. If you like dark fantasy, look for that coming out by the end of the year. Eyes of Fire.
Nice. You guys, you have quite a wide swath, which is good. That's good because you can reach wide audiences. So my last question for you guys is multi-part. It's one, if people want to get your books online, what are the distributors they can go to? And then 2, do you guys have like a website and social media presence? And any things you talk about, I'll put in the description.
The answer is yes.
Just search Jumpmaster Press.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Facebook, X, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel with our audiobooks out there.
Yep.
So by all means, go subscribe and listen for free. Fantastic books, space pirates, Norse fantasy, historical fiction, even some red hot squeaky clean romance. It's all out there on the YouTube channel. But if you want a physical copy, we recommend you go to jumpmasterpress.com, and our shipping department is open 24/7, 365, and we'll be happy to box up a book or 12 to get them to you.
Nice. I like that. Red hot clean romance. I am going to use that in the future. I love that description.
It is not 50 Shades of Oh My God. It's actually Christian romance. It's red hot, squeaky clean romance. And I see Gene just dropped off, but he's actually one of our narrators, and he is a nationally recognized voice actor, award-winning. And so anything with his name on it as the narrator, is going to be high quality.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I really appreciated it. Of course, I'll include the links down below, and of course, check out all of Jumpmaster Press's books. But until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.